some failures that occurred were due to that. All that period of time, have we catched up? And secondly, once we're speaking about the Russian soldiers, at the moment, what is the situation on the front line? What is your take?
Well, most importantly, it's not that we lag behind, but, we ain't seen some of the novel things. Not that we wanted to do something, but we failed to do that on time. Some things are brand new for us, and this is my first point. My second point is that we've been waging war. We've been manufacturing the military hardware. But, on the other side, very many countries, all NATO countries, have been waging war against us, all of them put together, and there are instructors, unfortunately, who actually participate in the hostilities. They established a special center in Europe that has been providing the support to the Ukrainian army, feeding information and intelligence data from satellites to them, training them, supplying arms, and the instructors participate not only in the training but also in the decision making and the implementation. In the implementation of these decisions, definitely this is a formidable challenge for us. But the Russian army, the Russian state, and our defense industry has adapted themselves quickly to this new challenge, and we have been rising up to this challenge. It's not an overstatement or bragging to say that currently this army is the most combat effective with respect to the degree of training and technical capabilities, and the knowledge to apply those capabilities and supplying new prototypes of items to the front line, and the tactics also. We're quite knowledgeable. We excel. This is the answer.
Our interlocutors and your interlocutor across the ocean have renamed the Defense Department into the Department of War. Probably the same thing, but there are nuances. Do you think the names matter?
Well, I don't think. Probably not, or probably as you name the ship, so it sails. So probably there is some point to it. But, this sounds quite, a bit aggressive. The Department of War, ours is the Ministry of Defense, so this has been our tenet. We don't have any aggressive intentions against third countries. Our defense ministry aims at providing for the security of the Russian state and the people of Russia.
And he says that Russia is a paper tiger?
No. A paper tiger. Well, I've said that Russia has been waging a war not against Ukraine, but all NATO countries put together. So if we speak... Well, you've asked me what has been happening on the front line, battlefield line. I'll come back to the Tiger thing, but, all along the battlefield line, our troops have been advancing. The Northern Group in Kharkiv, in the Kharkiv region, there's a location of Volchansk, and in the Sumy region, there's also a location called Yunakovka. It has been transferred to our control, and we have taken half of Volchansk. I think it is a matter of time. The other half will be retaken soon, and a security buffer zone is being established in a firm and resolute manner, as planned. The Western group of our troops has virtually fully... Well, two-thirds of Kupiansk have been taken, which is a location where we have seized the center, and the hostilities have moved to the south. Another major location called Kirovsk has been transferred to our control, and the southern group of our troops has entered the city of Konstantinovka. This is one of the defense bastions like Konstantinovka, Sloviansk, and Kramatorsk, which are the fortifications that had been created for more than 10 years with the help of the Western professionals and military professionals. But we have approached and entered those, including also Seversk, a major location too. And the hostilities are ongoing there. The central group of our army has been quite active and efficient in operations, and they have entered the location of Krasnoarmeysk, the south of it. I will not delve into detail, also because I just don't want to inform our foe, strange as it might seem, because this might seem strange, my words, but actually they don't know what has been happening. They have very little coordination, so I would not wish to supply information to them, but, you know, our soldiers work there, okay. With respect to the eastern group, it has been advancing rapidly at a good pace in the north of Zaporozhye region and Dnipro region, and the Dnieper region, regional group also is quite effective and confident. So 0.13% of Lugansk region is what is still controlled by the adversary, so we will retake that, and 19-something% is still controlled by of Donetsk region is still controlled by the adversary. 24 to 25% is the remaining territory under the control of the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions, and I'm in control of the Ukrainians, and we hold the strategic initiative in a confident way in all these locations, but actually we've been advancing steadily and resolutely. Are we a paper tiger? Then what is NATO in this case? What is NATO like if we're a paper tiger? Okay. The main thing for us is to maintain our confidence, and we are confident.
Thank you so much. You know, there are such toys that you make out of paper and to make a tiger. I do think that next time you meet President Trump, you can give him such a toy.
Well, we have our own relationship, and we know what to give one another, and we treat these things with calm and ease. I don't know whether it was irony or what the context was, you know. Well, he uttered that and talking to his interlocutor like the paper tiger. Okay, then what followed? Go and get to grips with this paper tiger, he might have said, you know, but things on the ground are different. Actually, the problem is, well, they receive, the Ukrainian army receives a lot of supplies of arms, as many systems as they need. But you know, in September they have lost 44,700, and around half of that is irretrievable, and the forced mobilization brought in only 18.5 thousand new recruits, and 14.5 thousand have returned after treatment in hospitals. If you add the mobilized ones and the returnees and all those who they lost, it's minus 11,000 per month. So they cannot replenish their reserves on the front line, but they see their army dwindling. If we take January to August, this span, 150,000 people have deserted, and they have recruited 160,000 more, but 150,000 of defectors is a lot. And, you know, given the current casualties, that means that they have only one alternative, reducing the mobilization age, threshold age, but this will not yield good results. According to our and by the by Western specialists, this will hardly give or yield positive results because they don't have time to train their newly recruited soldiers, because our troops keep advancing day after day. So they cannot entrench themselves or train the military personnel, and you know their casualties exceed the inflow. So they'd better the Kiev leadership would better think of how to come to terms, and we proposed that on many occasions.
Do we have enough personnel for everything?
We have a lot of these. We also have casualties, but you know they are much lower than the ones of the Ukrainian forces. And you know, our recruits are volunteers. They volunteer. They come to the draft stations on their own will. We don't have any forced mobilization, any compulsory mobilization, unlike the Kiev regime. This is not what I have invented. This is objective, real data, and the Westerners also prove that. January to August saw 150,000 of defectors in Ukraine, because they snatch people in the street and afterwards they flee the battlefield, and we call on them to surrender. But you know they are destroyed by punitive squads or UAVs. Kill them, controlled by mercenaries who do not care for Ukrainians. So their army is very, very, very bare bones. The elites don't participate in the hostilities. They just send their people to be slaughtered. This is why that many defectors.
You see, we also have these, and it usually happens in armed conflicts, but it never compares to what they have. Similar to their kinds, it's just singular cases. That's where the problem comes from. Maybe they can lower the conscription age to 21 or 18. This will not solve the problem. This is what has to be understood, and I hope that this understanding will come to the leaders of the Kiev regime, and they will find it in them to sit at the negotiation table.
Thank you. Dear friends, please ask your questions. Ivan Safranchuk from the front. Mr. President, thank you for your very interesting introductory remarks. And you already set this really high standard for this discussion as you spoke with Fyodor Lukyanov. Let me clarify those cardinal changes that were going on in recent years. Were you surprised by anything? Were you surprised by the rapid desire of some of the Europeans to start this confrontation with us? Some of them are no longer ashamed to be participating in Hitler's coalition. Some of those things you could not even imagine. Were you surprised in terms of how it was even possible? And you mentioned how in the world of today you have to be ready for anything. Anything can happen, but quite recently it seemed like the situation was more predictable. Was there anything that surprised you?
First of all, you see, as a whole, overall, no. There was nothing much surprising, because I could imagine how it could look, but you see, I was quite taken aback by the readiness and this desire to fully review that used to be positive in the past. You see, first of all, they've taken these very tentative steps and started to compare the Stalin regime with the fascist regime in Germany, Hitler's regime. They've started putting them on the same shelf. So they've tried to bring up to surface the Pact of Molotov and Ribbentrop. They've spoken about the Munich deal of '38 as if they've started to forget about it, as if it never happened. The Prime Minister didn't come to London, shaking the agreement with Hitler when descending the plane, saying, "I bring peace." But even back in the day, the UK had people who said that now war is inevitable. That was Churchill. So Chamberlain said, "I bring peace," and Churchill responded with, "War is inevitable." So that was the estimation back then. They talked about the Molotov Pact. They said that Soviet Union was coercing with Hitler, but you were the ones who coerced with him the day before. And they're still acting as if it never happened. Perhaps they can try and spread propaganda, try to brainwash people, how these things don't align. But when it comes to it, we know what really happened. So that was the first part. But as we go on, the more the merrier. Not only have they tried to compare Stalin and Hitler, they've also tried to fully forget the results of the Nuremberg process, which is quite concerning because these are participants of a joint fight. And this Nuremberg process was a joint effort. And it happened in order to avoid repetition of anything like that in the future. They started eradicating monuments to Soviet soldiers who fought Nazism. I understand that there were some ideological factors at play, but as I've already said, the Soviet Union also led the policy of trying to impose political system in Eastern Europe. That is clear. But people who fought Nazism, they laid down their own lives for it. And they weren't at the head of Stalin regime. They weren't in charge of anything. They've simply paid with their own lives, trying to defeat Nazism. And so on and so forth. And this is what shows that there is no end to their rhetoric, but only because it has to do with Russia. They need to set certain arms to it. And when I've come up on stage, I've taken a book with me. I wanted to read something to you, but what I wanted to say, at home, my table, I have a Pushkin book of his works, and sometimes when I have a free couple of minutes, I like to open it because it's quite an immersive, interesting reading, but also to truly immerse myself in that atmosphere, what these people lives looked like, what they thought. And just yesterday I opened this book, I perused through the pages, and I found a poem. Everyone, at least a certain part of the audience, knows the poem of Mikhail Lermontov-Borodino, "Please Tell Me, Uncle." We wasted no time, of course, but I never understood that Pushkin wrote on the same subject as well. But then I took a look at it and I was very impressed by it, because you get a feeling like Alexander Pushkin wrote those very same lines just yesterday, as if he looked at me and said, "Oh, you're about to discuss the Valdai Club. Please take it with you so you can read it aloud to everyone there, my thoughts on the matter." So I was hesitant to do it, but If you allow me, I have a book with me. It's quite curious. This is a response to many questions. The Borodino anniversary. The great day of Borodino. Remembering the brotherhood, we said a lot of troops went threatening Russia with death. The whole Europe was there, and whose star was leading it on? But we stood firmly on the ground, took bullets to the chest, and the unjust argument was then fair. And then their shameful fleeing, they forgot. They forgot our arms, our snow that buried their fame in the middle of a desert. Their famous feast is so attractive, and they get drunk on the Slavic blood. But their hangover will be hard, and they will sleep for long on the northern fields. You see, this says it all. Once again, I find proof that Pushkin is our everything. And after that, he went even further on. He was so inspired, but I can tell you exactly where that is, so you can take a look as well. 1831, that's when it was written. So you see, the fact of Russia's presence is inconvenient for a lot of people. So everyone tries to play part in this historic event of inflicting strategic defeat and to, of course, benefit from it, to reap a piece from here, from there, but also to make a convincing gesture. But they will not succeed.
It's an important comparison. Nawrocki, president of Poland, I think the day before yesterday, as he was...
The poem goes on about Poland.
He mentioned in an interview that he keeps talking to General Pilsudski, discussing issues of relations with Russia, and you speak with Pushkin. There's no harmony in it.
You see, Pilsudski was such a personality who was harboring animosity towards Russia, and under his leadership and under the leadership of his ideas, Poland has made a lot of mistakes between the First and Second World War, because Germany proposed peaceful resolution on the Danzig corridor issue, and the Polish leadership refused to do it, and then fell as the first victim of Nazi aggression. And they also fully recused the following idea. I believe historians are aware of it, that Poland refused Soviet Union helping Czechoslovakia. Soviet Union was prepared to do it. We have documents here in Russia. I took a look at them myself, of notes being written to Poland. And Poland said that there would be no way it could lead Soviet troops to Czechoslovakia. And if Soviet planes would fly over, then Poland would strike them down. And then it fell as the first victim of the Nazi aggression. So if this political family of the highest rank in Poland remembers that fact, understanding all the complexities and the intrinsities of historical eras, and takes that into account and truly considers those mistakes, then it could be beneficial.
I have a suspicion that he had a different context. Okay, further questions, please. Professor Marandi from Iran.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. President, and I thank Valdai as well for this excellent conference. We are all saddened because during the last 2 years, we've seen genocide in Gaza. and the pain and suffering of women and children being torn apart day and night. Recently, we saw President Trump give a peace proposal that looked more like a submission and capitulation, and especially introducing someone like Blair with his history is insult to injury. I was wondering, what do you think the Russian Federation can do to bring an end to this misery, which has really darkened the days of everyone? Thank you.
The situation in Gaza, it's a truly horrific event in the modern history of humanity. And it's even known how the Western-oriented UN General Secretary Guterres said that it has turned into the largest children's cemetery in the world. What could be more tragic or sadder? As for the President Trump's proposal on Gaza, you see, perhaps it would be surprising, but Russia is ready to support it. Of course, after taking a detailed look at this proposal, if it leads to the final goal we have continuously spoken about, Russia has continuously, since 1948 and in 1974, when the subsequent resolution of the UN Security Council was introduced, advocated for the creation of two states, of Israel and Palestine. That is the key to the final resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And it's true, I haven't taken a close look at this proposal just yet, but I believe it is proposed to create an international body that would govern for a certain time over Palestine or the Gaza band. And Mr. Blair should be at the head of it. He's quite known to be a peacekeeper. I personally know him. I've visited his home. I've slept over there. We drank coffee in pajamas in the morning together. Was the coffee good? Yes, quite decent. You see, he has his own opinions, but he's an experienced politician. And overall, if you direct his action in the peaceful track, his experience, his knowledge, he could play a positive role. Of course, there are certain questions. How long this international administration would be in power? And then how and who will transfer this power? There is a mention of transfer of power to the Palestinian administration. In my opinion, everything should be handed over to President Abbas and the current administration of Palestine. Perhaps it could be an issue trying to solve security concerns, but as far as I understand from the colleagues who spoke to me about it today, there is a possibility of transfer of control over the Gaza band to the local militia in order to ensure security. Is that really such a bad idea? I believe that is good. We just have to understand how long the international administration will reign there. What is the time frame previewed in order to pass over the civilian power, as well as any security issues? And what is especially important, I believe, which has to be supported. There was a mention of liberating all the hostages that Hamas is keeping. as well as liberating a lot of Palestinians from the Israeli prisons. Here we have to understand how many Palestinians can be released in what time frame, and especially what is especially important, what is Palestine's opinion on that, as well as the countries of that region, the whole Islamic world, and Palestine, Palestinian people, and of course I mean Hamas. There are different approaches and opinions about Hamas. We have our own opinion, but we have contacts with them. And it's important for us that Hamas support that idea as well. And the Palestinian administration has to support that as well. These are all the matters that require substantive, detailed research and work. Overall, if we manage to make it happen, this will be a significant step forward towards resolving this conflict. But in our opinion, I would like to reiterate, any substantive decision can be made with the creation of Palestinian state. And Israel's approach is also very important. We're not aware of it yet. What's their take on it? I'm not aware of any public statements. But it's not just about their public statements, but at the core, what is Israel's take on it? Will they be ready to comply with what's been proposed by the U.S. president? There are a lot of matters to take into account. But overall, if all the things that I've mentioned can happen, it will be a breakthrough that could be quite positive. Allow me to repeat for the third time. The creation of a Palestinian state is the key to resolution as a whole.
You're not surprised a couple of weeks ago when one ally of the U.S., Israel, attacked another ally of the U.S., Qatar.
I was surprised.
What about the reaction or the absence of reaction of the U.S.?
Понятно. Спасибо. Так, Тара Рид, пожалуйста, здесь.
Okay, Tara Reid.
President Putin, it's a tremendous honor to speak to you. I want to start with a thank you that will lead to the question. I used to work for Senator Biden and Leon Panetta in the United States of America, and I came forward about some things in corruption in 2020, and I was targeted by the Biden regime to the point where I had to flee. Margarita Simeon, who was a hero to me, helped me, and Masha Maria Butina get through. And I was able to get political asylum thanks to you. And with your collective effort, you saved my life. So thank you. I was a target, and my life was in immediate danger. What I can say about Russia is Lublyo Russia. I have found it to be beautiful. The propaganda in the West was wrong about Russia. I love Moscow. The people have been very warm and welcoming. It's efficient. And for the first time, I feel safe and I feel more free. I work for RT. And I've really enjoyed it. I'm given a lot of creative freedom to work in my sphere in geopolitical analysis. And so thank you to the Valdai Club for recognizing my intellectual pursuits. I appreciate you. So this is my question. I have met other Westerners that have come here for sanctuary to Russia, also for economic reasons and for shared values. How do you feel about watching this stream of Westerners coming in, asking to live in Russia, and will it be easier to get Russian citizenship? And you gave me, by presidential decree, Russian citizenship, which is a tremendous responsibility and honor. So, я русский. Спасибо большое.
You've mentioned common values and how we treat people who come from different countries wanting to live here, who share these common values with us. You see, in our political culture, there have been a lot of good, a lot of questionable, and the identification document of citizens of the Russian Empire. There was no such field as nationality. Soviet passport had that, but the Russian one didn't have that. It had a religion. There was a common value, a religious value, belonging to Eastern Christian religion, Orthodox religion. Of course, there were other values, but this was the one that determined what kind of values you shared, which is why today it doesn't matter whether someone comes from the East, from the West, but if they share our values, this is our person, and that's how we're going to treat you, which is why you feel the way you feel. And that's my attitude as well. As for any legal administrative procedures, we have taken decisions that facilitate the chances for those who want to tie their lives, whether it's for a few years, facilitate the process that lowers the barriers for them. It's not that we see a huge inflow, but hundreds of thousands of people, or I believe we've received 2,000 applications, 1,800, and this inflow continues. And it's not just for political reasons, but for values, mostly from European countries. Their gender terrorism that they're conducting towards children. Not a lot of people can tolerate it, so they're trying to find safe havens, and they find themselves here, and we will continue to support them as far as we can. You've also mentioned, I've taken note, I love Russia. You and I have a lot of common. You said I love Moscow, and we have a lot of common because I love Moscow as well. So let's operate on that.
For someone born in St. Petersburg, that's worth a lot. That's a revolutionary event. Mr. President, to follow up on that question, a couple of months ago, there was this really unique piece of news that at the front lines of the special military operation in Donbass, an American citizen perished who fought on our side, Michael Gloss, who was the son of the deputy head of the CIA. An American already attracts attention, especially from such a family. Were you aware of him prior to when it has become known publicly?
No, I was not aware of it. I found out when there was a draft decree on him acquiring a medal for bravery. And I will be very frank, I was quite surprised. He had complicated parents. His mother is the acting deputy of the investigative branch of the U.S. His father is the retired Navy officer in charge of one of the largest companies supplying Pentagon. So it's not your usual family. I was not aware of any of that. But you see, a colleague was just speaking about her points of view, how she found herself here, and he found himself here for the very same reasons. When he tried to enter the university, his parents were not aware. He came to Turkey, then he came to Moscow. He came to the inscription office, and he says that He shares the same values as Russia: human rights, person's right to his own language, to his own religion. He advocates for human rights. And Russia fights for the very same values. And he's ready and he wants to